Hey, everybody. I'm coming to you live and wanted to have a quick chat with you this evening about a topic that just came up to me this week called Fluff and Stuff. So the reason I wanted to chat with you about this because I had something that happened to me just 2 days ago that really deposited this topic into my mind and my thoughts so dear. I'm all about purposeful living and making sure that we stay on track with everything that is going to keep us focused on track and headed towards what is our full destiny and our purpose for living. So, why did this topic pop up in my head and in my thoughts so clear? I was on a Zoom call this week. I was working my little heart out, being a busy bee. And as I'm always talking about, don't be distracted, don't be off focus. I got up and I was doing what I normally do, but all of a sudden I forgot that I had the two little dogs and they were about doing what they do. They were being busy doing what they do. But I thought, these dogs must know I'm on a Zoom call because afterwards I got up to go do my next task for the day, but I was distracted by all the fluff and stuff that they left for me. The two dogs had ripped up one of the dog beds and left fluff and stuff all over the house. Now, why is that important? What does that have to do with everyday life? Well, as I had to stop and clean up all this fluff and stuff and clean up this mess, it reminded me that in life, if we don't mind the matters and things that are going on around us as we're going about our day, as we're taking care of business, that fluff and stuff is a distraction towards our goals. Well, you say, well, how was that a distraction? Because I had another task to do. I had something else that I was supposed to be doing to continue going on my day. I had fluff and stuff all over my living room floor. Well, what was I supposed to be doing? I was supposed to be going on. I was supposed to be leaving my house. I was supposed to be doing something else. But all the things in the living room floor with this dog bed was disarray. I had to stop. I had to take a moment and I had to clean all of this up. That's what happens to us when we let things go unchecked in life. When we don't take a moment and look at what's going on around us, we will have a whole lot of things disarray in our life. We'll have a whole lot of mess all around us, and we'll have to stop what we're doing. What is that called? A distraction. You could be trying to live your best life. You could be on the road to your destiny. You could be trying to do the purposeful things that you're supposed to do, but get sidetracked. Something can hinder you. Something can get in your way of walking the road and living out your purposeful living. No, my dogs are not the hindrance and a distraction to me, but what they did in my living room floor was a distraction. It stopped me or it slowed me down. Some things don't even just stop you, they just slow you down from your tasks. They slow you down from what you're supposed to be doing. I had to stop where I was supposed to be going. I couldn't continue on in my path, and I had to stop and handle that big mess. That's what happens to us a lot of time in life. We get sidetracked. We can't continue walking. We can't continue flowing in our purpose. We can't continue moving forward because things that are right there in front of us or things that are distraction slow us down. I called it the fluff and stuff conversation tonight because that's what it immediately made me think of. How does this fluff and stuff get created? We're not always watchful. We're not always mindful. And so you say, well, Vera, how do you avoid this happening? Prepare. If I would have taken a few moments before I got really busy or before I even got on that Zoom call, sometimes I think these pets have a mind of their own. They hear, they see you're distracted, they see you're not paying attention to them, and they go off to another room and they get into stuff. They don't hear you calling their name or looking for them. If I would have took a few minutes, we have a dog running outside. I could have put him outside in the dog run, or I could have put the little busy one in his crate. If I would have taken a few moments and done that, when I got up, I wouldn't have seen a fluffy, stuffy mess and fur all over the living room floor, and I would not have had to stop on my destiny of where I was going next. So how do we avoid mess? We can take time to prepare. We can take time to better prepare ourselves, better prepare for situations, better prepare for the day. When I get up in the mornings and I'm getting ready for work or for whatever I'm going to do for that day, usually I make a to-do list. I start out my day, or sometimes I make that to-do list the night before. I see the boxes I haven't checked off that night, or how I want to start the day. Sometimes I'll just list the task out for the day before, and I put little boxes. Do you work off a to-do list? Are you prepared for the next day? Do you have things in mind that you need to get done so that you're not driving to and from? I remember when gas prices were really high, girlfriends and I would say, when we run errands, we make a list that we're not running out 3 and 4 times during a week, but we were purposeful about what we wanted to do. We would go and we would make sure we ran the errands, so we're not running out 3 and 4 times a week, but we would make lists of what we need to do. So are you prepared? Are you preparing yourself for what you want to do in life? Are you prepared to make sure that you are getting your goals done, and that you're making sure that one thing, that you're limiting the interference? If I would have prepared my animals, and I know you're relating back to those animals, but that's what brought this topic to my mind so clear. If I would have put those animals up, I wouldn't have been distracted to my next step of where I needed to go. Many people may take this light, but if you think about it, where are you trying to go, and what is distracting you? What is blocking you or keeping you from getting there? Is it lack of preparation? Is it lack of time management? Is it lack of focus? Is it interference? What are you allowing to interfere with where you're trying to go? We can limit interference sometimes, and we can avoid these things that come up in our path by preparation. Another way to avoid interference and another way to keep going is to properly set boundaries. But I'm going to get to the boundaries in a minute. But because before you can set boundaries, and in order to get there, one of the other things I had to do was before I can keep moving on, I had to stop. I had to acknowledge where I was and what was happening. I had to take responsibility for that mess. I couldn't just leave my house the way it was. Well, I could have, but when I got back, the mess would still be there. Are you overlooking the situations in your life that are there that are keeping you from getting to your destiny and your goal? See, if I would have left my house and went on to my next task, when I came home, maybe it would have been worse. If I would have overlooked that I let the dogs tear up the living room, that would have been an ugly mess to come home to. I had to acknowledge that I left them out when I should have put them up. I had to take responsibility for it. And then I had to clean up the mess. Wow, that can be a little heavy, but it's so truthful. Sometimes we have to acknowledge first, take responsibility, and then do the work to get back on track. So in order for me to get back on track, I had to acknowledge, oh my gosh, I left these dogs out while I was doing something else that I was trying to be focused on. Because in order to be focused, you have to move the interference and the things that's going to distract you from keep going. Not just distract you here, but sometimes we need to clear the path so that we can keep going. I know thought I cleared the path so I can work where I was on that Zoom call then, but we don't just want to be clear here. We want to be clear so that we can keep moving, so that we can keep pushing, so that we can keep moving forward. I didn't clear the path so that I could keep moving forward. I learned a good lesson that morning, right? So now, why am I sharing this? Because this is not just a lesson for myself. It's a lesson for many people. Most days I am better prepared. I was just so focused and moving so quickly that sometimes we don't keep the path clear so that we can keep going. So we have to acknowledge that. We have to take responsibility, and we have to clear the path and keep as little interference as possible in our way. Sometimes there's so much noise and so much distractions that we can't hear we can't download, or we can't get focused to keep going. We can't focus on our task at hand. We have too much distractions. Sometimes we just need to get in a quiet place, block out the interference. So once we clean up the mess, and can I just give you a little bit of encouragement? Sometimes cleaning up the mess isn't always easy, but it is needful. Then once you clean up the mess and you keep pressing forward, you acknowledge it, then it's time to get back on track. Well, how do I get back on track? I'm trying to get back on track. I'm trying to move forward. How about you start with setting goals? We've all heard the acronym SMART. It's specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-based. Sometimes it's hard to live a purposeful life when you're not using SMART goals, or you don't have any goals. And sometimes we can't do it because we need help. We can't do it by ourselves. We need to set specific goals for ourselves. We need to set goals that are specific to where I'm trying to go in my life. I can't set goals for myself that are my husband's goals. I need to set my goals. We set goals together as partners in life and in marriage, but the goals that I want for myself need to be specific and related to where I'm trying to attain. And then we set goals together. But the goals that I want need to be specifically related to what I believe I'm supposed to be doing. And then they need to be measurable. How do I measure these goals? How do I sit down and say, well, what am I going to use as the yardstick to measure? You know, a yardstick is something that you sit down, you lay out and say, hey, this is how I measure this. This is what I'm going to use to say, this is what I'm here, but I measure this here. And this is what I'm going to measure to say whether I've attained my goals. They need to be attainable. So when I thought about this word attainable, how do I measure and say this is attainable? And I thought, well, some people will say, don't say that you want to take the shuttle to Nassau and that's nowhere near in your wheelhouse. You don't study science. You're not even interested in science, but hey, for some people, that might be what you want to do. I'm not saying that we shouldn't strive for greatness, because I believe everyone has it within them to be great, but your goal needs to be attainable. And then they need to be relevant. If your goal is to be a teacher, then it should be relevant. Your goal should be around learning, should be about education. It should be about continuing education. It should be around something relevant to teaching, something that you can achieve. And then it should be time-based. How about set a goal that is based on, and with the time within 30, 60, 90 days, 6 months, or a year, getting a degree or getting some continuation classes, getting an internship based on teaching, being in a school system, working as a substitute, but something that is SMART, which is specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-based. And then the other piece to this would be working with someone that holds you accountable, working with a coach. Before I said about cleaning up, I also said about avoiding interference, and I also said about staying on track. So I'm slowing down and I'm talking a little more clear on this, because sometimes when we have to clean up the mess, it's not easy to do that by ourselves. Sometimes when we have to avoid interference or block out interference and block distractions, it's not easy to do that by ourselves. And sometimes when we have to set goals and stay on track and push forward like this, it's not easy to do that by ourselves. So we need someone that is walking alongside us, holding us accountable and making us responsible. You know why? Because sometimes we set boundaries, but we let people push our boundaries. Here's your boundary line. You push it back. People push against it, you bend, you bend, you bend, until your boundary line has been violated, so it no longer exists. But when you have a coach and someone that's walking alongside you, holding you accountable and responsible to those things that you have set, it becomes a lot easier, and you will see how much more attainable and relevant and possible all those goals and those things you're trying to reach. You will start to see your destiny and your purpose unfold in your life so much quicker. I just wanted to come and drop that little bit of conversation onto you tonight to talk to you about fluff and stuff. We need to clear out all the fluff and stuff. But I would love to offer you the services of VLS coaching. We're here to walk alongside you, to help you attain those goals, to help you reach your purpose and your destiny, to help you move out all the fluff and stuff, the distractions, the things that are keeping you from attaining your goals. How about you reach out to us today at 469-369-2610. Let's do a breakthrough call with you and see how we can help you. Again, this is Vera Sadler. I want to help you get rid of all the fluff and stuff. Reach out to me today, 469-369-2610. I can't wait to hear from you, and I want to be a blessing to you and to help you. Again, Vera Sadler, 469-369-2610.